Hi everyone, welcome in. This is Julie Maxon, the main stamper. I am here for a live card class. This is called Thursday at 3. So obviously it's Thursday. Depending on when you're watching this, you may be watching on replay. Let me know if you're watching replay. I love the replay warriors out there. You guys are so awesome. So Thursday at 3, I come on and I do a kind of short project, something that's kind of wow though, right? And this is the card that we're going to be creating today. Look at how pretty. I'm calling this the Dainty Delight because we're using Dainty Delight, and it's a circle tunnel card. So there's some circle punches here, and it's hard to see the depth, but there is like a little tunnel effect going on here. Now earlier today I teased that you're going to need a pencil for this particular card, and the reality is this is one that you're just going to be a little bit creative with. There are no exact measurements when it comes to punching out those circles and creating the tunnel. You are just going to go with it. You're going to go with the flow. So you've got to release a little bit of that. If you're like that type A person that has to have the centimeter correct, it's okay on this one to just, have a little fun, have a little play with it, right? So this is our sweet card today. Hi, Sandra. I love seeing you on here. Good afternoon. All right, let's get over to my workspace. Now that I know that you guys can see and hear me, we'll get over to my workspace and we'll get working on this great card. Okay, so again, I'm calling this the Dainty Delight Circle Tunnel card, and this is the card recipe that you got in your email newsletter today. So it gives you the dimensions, the supplies that I used, and the directions as well. Okay, so again, a look at this card. I'm going to just bring my bone folder in. This actually has, you can see I can put my bone folder in and around this circle. So that's showing you that this is on dimensions, and then this little sentiment is actually flat on the card base. Now it doesn't go all the way through, so you might think that if you opened it, you would see it here, but you don't. I didn't cut away this part of the card base, although you could cut away this card and have the layer on the inside. If I put a white paper here, right? You could have it here and cut away the entire thing and have more tunnels, but I just kept it kind of simple because sometimes I don't want to be super elaborate. But I'm going to show you another way. We've been working with Dainty Delight this week, the beautiful stamp set and all these dies. We've been working on them. I focused my Monday class on these. If I can pick up my cards here. We had cards, and you can still get card kits this week with your order. Thank you guys, everyone who ordered yesterday with me for free shipping day. You guys are awesome. You saved so much, and you're getting card kits this week. You're going to get this card kit. You're going to get 2 of each. You're going to get this cute pink one. I love the pink one, right? We're talking about this one today online. And then you've got this card kit. Now, this card kit could also look like this, depending on how you orient your layers. And I have a poll over on Positive Paper Crafters asking you which one you like better. A lot of people are liking this one better, which really surprises me because I really like the original. And I took the original that would be yesterday. Wednesday, we do Who Wore It Better. And I created another color. So this is Calypso Coral. You can see the difference. So these cards are just so much fun. I have a lot of fun with these. But again, we are continuing on with the Dainty Delight. So this is a pretty easy card, but we are going to use our pencil and we are going to be a little bit fun with this. So you've got a regular A2 card base. This is Balmy Blue. And this beautiful paper comes from I think it's called Wash and Beauty. It is in the annual catalog right now. Of course, it's retiring. They retire all papers. We're going to start out with this paper, and we have a layer of white. I believe this is 3.5 by 4 3/4. Yes, that is what the measurements are in case you're playing at home. The DSP is 4 by 5 1/4. So I know that not everyone is on my newsletter. They don't get all the directions. So that's what we've got here. So you can kind of see the matted and layered effect. We're going to bring in our punches. We have, thankfully Stampin' Up! Brought back 1 3/4 and the 2-inch punches. And I love the punches. We're going to start with the 2-inch punch. We're going to start with our white layer. So what we're doing is we're punching each of these individually. So you can see the white layer has a bigger punch in it because we can see the designer paper behind it. So when I cut the hole in the white, I want the 2-inch. And this is where it gets like a little, I can't tell you exactly where to line it up. I'm just going to give you my hints. So I try to line up the top of my punch right here with the top edge of my paper. So that's kind of my first eyeball, right? And then I see how far this goes in, and I go in a little bit to give it some room, try to kind of keep it aligned at the top. There's probably about 1/4 of an inch over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and punch it. Now, is it exactly the same? Like, probably not, right? So it's not exactly. And your cards shouldn't be always exactly. We're making handmade cards. They should be a little bit unique. Now, this is where the fun really starts. We're going to layer the white piece on top of the designer paper. And we're just going to make sure that we have the nice matted border on all four sides, right? We're going to take our pencil and we're going to mark approximately the center of our circle. So that's about the center of my circle. Now, as mentioned, I want the smaller punch, the 1 3/4, to do this job right here. Now you can take that off. You don't have to have that on there. But what you do need to do is you need to find the center with your punch. And again, this is an exact science, right? So I'm going to punch that out. And then when I layer these two together, I've got a little tunnel, right? I've got where you can see the white and then you can see the designer paper underneath. Now, I do need to emboss this layer, so I'm going to slide some things across here real quickly. And we're going to emboss it with the 3D embossing folders. These are in the online store. And we're going to save this white one. I'm just trying to move my things around here. They are not currently in stock, but I'm using the one that kind of looks like the little cross marks. I really like this one. This is the most subtle of the 3 folders, and they do come in a 3-pack. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up in my folder, and I'm using that little black guideline on the bottom to just make sure it's in there straight. Not that it really, really matters, but habits, right? We want the habits. So bringing in the big emboss machine here. I'm using my base plate 1. I'm putting the folder in with the hinged end toward the rollers, and base plate 4, because this is it's a 3D embossing folder. So we're just going to roll this through and we will have a beautiful embossed piece. And here it is. And of course, if you're doing this at home, if you like this recipe, you can basically use any embossing folder, any colors, any paper. I love when you guys change this up and make it a little bit different. Now we're going to go ahead and, if my glue gods are happy today, my bottle, I felt this bottle as I started and I'm like, ooh, this bottle is getting really low. I have one on standby, but I'm hoping I don't have to open it. But there's a possibility here. All right, I'm trying to get the glue to come out. Here we go. So I went around the circle, around the outside, and now I'm just going to line this up right on top of the designer paper. Now, if you really like the tunneling depth look, you could actually put this one up on dimensionals as well. You could have lots of layers. You could have as many tunnel layers as you wanted to. I thought these two were just right. Now, isn't that cool, that little keyhole effect? And this is going to go on our card base, but before we do that, we're going to take great use of this circle that I punched out of the white cardstock originally. So you can see in my original sample here, I have a sentiment on here, and it says the best is yet to come. This comes right from the Dainty Delight stamp set, and I'm just going to do this in Balmy Blue. Hopefully my stamp off real quick. Okay, make sure we're good. I'm going to just put this in the center. So there we go. The best is yet to come. And this needs to go down on the card base so that this can sit over top of it. But what I need to do is, again, not exact science, right? But I'm going to just wiggle this around a little bit, dry fit it. I can see that I'm going to move it over and maybe down a little bit. And when you're happy with the placement, which I am right now, that's awesome. I'm going to hold this in place and I'm going to pick up my layers. Okay, so I've got this in place. And so that I know where to glue it down, because I do have to pick it up again. I can't just like go, okay, yep, I remember exactly where that was. I'm going to bring in my pencil again, and I'm just outlining my circle here. A little bit rough because you want to be able to see, right? So I outlined the circle because we're going to glue it down now, and none of this is going to be seen once we're all set. So the beauty part here is with a circle is, even if you stamped it crooked, you can adjust that circle so that it's straight. I love it. Now we're going to be layering this over top, and it's going to hide all of those pencil marks. So that's why I said you got to have a pencil for this one. It is so helpful to have that pencil. Let me find some dimensionals of the right size, the large. I was just having a conversation with Amy yesterday. We were talking a little bit about dimensionals, and she needed to just add something into her cart that was around the $4 mark. And I always recommend dimensionals because you can always use dimensionals. So she was asking me, do you use the large or the small more often? And I said, actually, I use the large the most. When you want the small ones, you can cut large ones in half. And the small ones are really handy, but I don't use them all the time. I use the large ones more often because I'm covering bigger surfaces just like this. And so those large ones are the handiest. So I always recommend to grab some dimensionals in your order if you're just trying to, you know, round out your host rewards or get to a certain level. You are good to go. So here we go. I've got my little layer on there, so you can see the bones of my card. So again, this is just, it's harder to see probably when it's flat, but it is like a tunnel effect because it is in there with some dimensions. So I wanted to show you that. Is so awesome. Now the next piece I'm going to put down here, this is from a different paper pack. This is actually the Country Gingham. And I just, to be honest, because we were working with a balmy blue here and I wanted to do a lot of tone on tone, I just grabbed this out because it happened to match. I could have grabbed the Subtles Designer Series paper. They also have lots of balmy blue choices in there. So whenever you're playing with your paper, it is nice to be able to match them up. And that's just a little bit of a layer on there just to give it some interest here so it's not too white. Now we are also going to be, and I've already done this, die cut out some this leafy frond. I had a lot of fun with this one. So this long leafy one right here, you can see that it's all die cut, and this is what it looks like when it comes out. And you can see that if I put this on my card, it's totally different from how I wrapped it over here. So we're going to doctor that up in just a minute. I also use these little dies right here. So this set of 4 will die cut individual little flowers, and I have them die cut out, so we're good there too. So I'm not going to die cut, but I wanted to show you where those are coming from. The last thing we're going to do here before we assemble all of our pretty flowers is we're going to stamp our flower here, and I'm using the Memento because we're going to color minimally with Balmy Blue and Old Olive Stampin' Blends. So this is like the more minimal coloring even than I did the other night. So you do need 2 of these images. So just go ahead and do 2 of them side by side. Now, when I die cut them, I cut them apart and do them one at a time. I don't want to run the entire paper through with the die and then come back through. I don't know where my dies went. Oh, they're right here. So I want to do them individually. So this one will go through once and the paper will only go through the machine one time. And then if I do this one individually, it's going to go through the machine once. And that just makes a nice smoother paper. The more times you run paper or cardstock through your machine, the more wrinkled and just nasty looking it gets. So this is minimal coloring, just as I promised. Now I did die cut earlier, so I'm just going to show you the die cutting. They come out really nicely. They kind of leave a couple of little spots in there, so it's not too obvious that it's, you know, a die cut. There's a few spots in there, and we're actually only adding the smallest bit of coloring. So I'm using the dark Balmy Blue, the darkest of the 2 blues, and I'm just going to go ahead and color in these cute little buds here at the top. And I'm not even sure how many of these flowers I need to color in. I think I need to color in this one. I don't need to color all of them because I'm going to make use of the additional die cuts and pop them on. So you can see the additional die cuts on here. These Balmy Blue flowers, they're so pretty. And this just saves you on ink from your Stampin' Blends, right? If you don't have to color everything in, then it's even better. This is the light Old Olive that I'm using now to color in the leaves. And I can feel that this one is getting dry. When your blends get dry, they don't glide. They kind of I want to say they squiggle more. When your blends are nice and juicy and wet, which is what you want, right? You want a lot of ink in them. The blends just kind of they ooze out. Like the color just washes so nicely. I see I missed a flower. And when they get dry, which they do, and these are not refillable, so once they're dry, you have to actually buy another 2-pack. They don't come individual either. They come in a light and a dark, so you'd have to buy another pack. And I just love these. Like, they're my favorite coloring tool. So basically, this is all that you need to color. So you see there's not a lot of color. Now, I forgot what I was doing earlier when I made my second one, and I just colored everything in because I was just kind of in the zone. So you can see how pretty it is all colored in, but we don't have to color all that in. So we're gonna doctor this up a little bit. The last thing we're gonna do though before we do that is we're gonna bring in Balmy Blue. We're gonna bring in all those little blue flowers that I had talked about die cutting previously, and a dauber. So I wanna just show you the difference between what they look like now and what they look like when we add that ink. It just makes it magical. So I'm just going to do a couple of them and then I'll show you what it looks like. I'm just going around quickly, so this is not like a long process, right? And that little bit of blue on the ink just makes everything pop. And if you leave, you know, leave the centers a little bit lighter, because then you can really see the contrast in the flowers. Just some different, you know, tones of the same blue. So I just love this little technique right here. So I'm just going to do this real quickly, and then we're going to do our final assembly. I'm going to show you how I'm going to get all of those leaves and all of those flowers onto my card. And just like that, you can be making tunnel cards with any nested or layering punches or dies. So if you have dies that nest and layer, you can do the same thing. Now obviously if you're die cutting, you have to, you know, run paper through your die cutting machine. But I love the punches, and I'm really glad that Stampin' Up! Brought back a couple of our circle punches, and there's a new one in the brand new catalog. And if you're watching, I'm so excited to say that my pre-order finally was on the front porch today when I got home from work. I'm so excited. I haven't had time to open the box, but it is down there. All right, so because I don't want this to go all the way like this on my card, I'm actually going to do a little trimming. I'm going to trim it right about there, so that this is going to come around this way, and then this one's going to come around this way. So just like that, I'm making, you can kind of see here in my directions, I called it an S formation. So it's kind of a lazy S, right? So we didn't have to die cut that twice. We just die cut one, and we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue onto the leaves. So this is a good way to doctor up some of your die cuts. If they're not working for your project, think about trimming them in a way that you can use them in a different manner. So I'm just gonna pop this on here, press for a second, because I just used the littlest bit of glue, and we're gonna do the same thing down here at the bottom. Now wherever you cut, so this is kind of a rough edge right here, I'm gonna actually trim this around so it just looks like a leaf. So just kind of trim it up if you want to. If you notice those little details like that and they really bother you because all you did was hack away at it, definitely you can round things out and make them look more natural. So this one I'm just going to put down here. Now I'm going to overlap it a little bit. So it may not line up beautifully perfectly, but it's okay, because then we're going to add in flowers too. So here we go, a little lazy S on this card. Isn't that cute? Love it. And now with the flowers, I did put these on dimensionals too. So this is a good case where I do want the minis for this one, because they are going to go on here, and there's not a lot of room to put the dimensionals on the back of this, because there's, you know, there's smaller little flowers. And I think I used 3. I believe I used 3. And I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. And I'm kind of, it's not going to show the vines perfectly, right? So this is on here as a background. So don't worry about, you know, oh, I covered up all the greens. You'll still see a little bit peeking out. It's okay. You're not going to see all of it, no, but we're just going to put this on here. And what you don't want to cover up, though, is your sentiment. So don't come over so far that your sentiment gets covered. Now this time we're going to bring this one in, and this is too long this way now. So I'm going to trim off some of these stems right here. I'm going to trim it right about there. And then just kind of, you know, check to see, does that work for you? We're going to put a little bow on here to help hide where they gather together. I might trim this just a little bit more, just so it looks a little bit nicer. And same thing again, we're going to add a few dimensionals on here. And then we're going to glue on our little blue flowers, add our bow and our bling, and it's that easy, right? So here is my second set of flowers. These little dimensional backers are harder to get off than the bigger sizes. Okay, so we'll put that on right about there. And I'm going to bring in my glue, and I'm just going to glue down some of these beautiful little flowers here over top of the existing ones. Now these little flowers, these little blue die cuts, they're actually about 4 different sizes of them. There's a big one, so I'm using the biggest one on the biggest flower that's on the stamped imagery, because it just makes sense to cover that up. And then there's a couple of them that are a little bit more of a medium kind of flower. So I'm just choosing places for them to go. Then there's one that's like kind of narrow. It's kind of a medium narrow. And again, just, you know, find some nice little spots for them. There's no right or wrong here. And you don't have to line it up like perfectly. So don't worry about that either. I'm looking for these little blue, these tiny little blue buds. They're so cute. These ones I'm going to put up here toward the top. And this, the blue cardstock with the ink on it really just makes it come to life, doesn't it? I mean, just what a difference to add that on there. It's so beautiful. All right, let me move my glue out of the way. We're going to talk about the bow here for a second. So this bow, I made it out of the Baker's Twine, the 2022-24 in colors. This is actually, I made a little bow here already. This is actually Tahitian Tide. It is not balmy blue. However, when I hold them together, right, it's not terrible. It doesn't match perfectly, but at the same time, it doesn't clash either. So I'm just going to bring in a glue dot and kind of roll it up a little bit right where the seam of my leaves or my stamped imagery met. I'm going to put on a little nice little bow, just a tiny little guy right there. And then, of course, all week I've been working with these lovely pearls, so I have to add in a few more pearls. So we're going to add some pearls onto here. And of course, you can decorate the inside just however you want to. We'll put one there and one there. Whoops, my fingers have glue stuck to them. Everything's sticking now. As I'm trying to get to the end of this project. Okay, one more, please. My blob of this putty is not nicely participating today either. But there we go, just like that. See how pretty and how beautiful, and think about how many different colors you could do this in. Now I'm a fan of trying things in different colors. Of course, you guys all know this, right? I love the colors. So just gonna pop over and check messages. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Debbie. The glue stand, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. I think you can find these on eBay, maybe not eBay, Etsy, probably Etsy. I actually got this at a rubber stamp convention. So I bought this from, I can't remember, it might have been Marco Polo had a booth set up, and he had just the randomest things. But I know that I have some girls that come to my stamp class, and I believe they may have got them on Etsy. So check to see. I think you might even be able to find them on Amazon now. Mine is full of glue, but it's perfect for the Tombow glue. And that's how I keep mine. So thanks for asking. Hi, Lori. Hi, Mary. I work and still do all I do. Yes, I do work. Mary, I work a 9 to 2 Monday through Friday. Fun fact, right? So I have an office job and I work with numbers a lot. Kind of is my jam. I kind of like the numbers thing. And I also like sitting on my butt at work. Like, it's nice and relaxing. And then I come in my craft room and I'm standing a lot. Like, I do most of my crafting standing up. So it's a really great mix of activity. Yes, Sandra, you definitely need to make these. These were great cards. So thank you so much for checking this out today. I love this little bit of interaction and reading your comments. Thanks, Debbie. Yes, it really is an easy card. It's a wow card too. People are gonna look at this and go like, wow, you took like probably 20 hours to make this. And you're like, no, not even. But I'm just really excited about color ideas and options, changing it up. Now, you don't have to use the exact same dies and stamps. Pick any of your flower stamps, any of your papers, any of your colors. You can definitely recreate this. And if you have punches, it's so much easier too. If you don't have punches, check out your dies and feel free to make some kind of variations of this card. Pop them over on Positive Paper Crafters and just be like, this was the Thursday at 3 sample that I made, because I would love to see what you do. Oh, Debbie says her desk raises up for standing too. It's such a nice feature nowadays. Absolutely. All right, everybody, that was it for me for Thursday at 3. Don't forget, you can order This Week Yet With Me and receive the card kits that I showed you at the beginning of this video. If you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great rest of the day. I will be doing probably an unboxing or a sneak peek soon because I'm really excited to go check out my box of stamping goodies. And I will see you again soon. So until next time, stay inspired, create something beautiful, share the love, and you're very welcome. Bye.